Come on. We're live.
Hi. Hello, everybody. Hi, nice to see you.
Good evening.
I'm back.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yes. Hello. I'm back after a week away in Naughty Boy land. So I couldn't keep away. And apparently my friend said that they winged it that much they wanted me back out of desperation, I think, after last week. But no, everybody did a great job. So it's nice to be back. So tonight's topic we're going to talk about is Destined Pathways. So what I'm going to do in a moment, I'm going to hand over to who's going to set the scene for us for tonight's topic. But basically, I think from what we can gather is, are we predetermined to do something? And also, do people come in and out of our lives in periods of time for a meaning to shape the way we are today? And hopefully we all will bring it back to exactly where we started. So without further ado, Carl, do you want to sort of set the scene for us, mate?
Yeah, no problem at all. I'm a firm believer to start off with the phrase "everything happens for a reason," and hopefully this little story will kind of give kudos to that statement. Myself and my friend investigated a local museum in the area. We're talking probably about 18 months ago, 2 years ago now. And we were the only team that's ever been allowed in there. And even now they don't let any more teams in there because a new management team's taken over. Basically, we had the usual light anomalies, footsteps and everything like that. And upon investigating the actual museum, we did some glass divination to what time we had a child's voice shout all playtime, which was not in a demonic way, but in a more excited child's way. That was a recording, but we actually didn't pick that up at the time. It's actually reviewing the audio afterwards. So that was a great voice we actually got there. And we was wanting some kind of dialogue because we kind of didn't know what to ask for, so to speak. We've kind of like only just got together as a team. So we were trying to work ourselves out as well, really, you know, how did we work together and things like that. And we was going around and we asked Spirit to actually give us a sign that they were there. And we walked around, heard a bang, and a sign, a literal sign, was on the floor. So there's the first part. We asked for a sign. It did give us a sign. But on the sign, it was a blue sign, and it actually said, "Ask me for help." So I'm taking that. Well, that is a great sign for a start, a literal sign. And after reviewing footage with the actual lady who was in charge of the museum, we found out that the owner was a gentleman called Henry Preston. Now, we don't know much about Henry Preston, but what we do know is when he was building the museum, it was him and his daughter that was there constantly. They absolutely loved the place. She had reported hearing footsteps in the basement after we spoke to her about it, and she said she always thought it was Henry and possibly the child's voice may have been his granddaughter. So, you know, a little tying up there a bit, but what makes the story interesting is when this lady took over the museum, to get extra funding, she had to provide a presentation to the local council on the benefits of a museum in education. And I actually believe that is the actual title that she used on the PowerPoint presentation, the benefits of education in a museum. Now, when she did her research on Henry Preston, when he was getting funding from the council a few hundred years ago, he used the same title in his presentation. Obviously, not PowerPoint, you know, but, you know, he had Word documents that was the importance of education in the museum. So that was the same title, word for word. Wow. And not only that, she actually found out that this Henry Preston had a house in our town. But what gets even more stranger is she actually lives in that house even to this date. And her house is haunted. She hears the footsteps. She believes it is Henry Preston. It has actually been checked and verified. Henry Preston did live at this house. His granddaughter used to stay there as well. So you've got the whole tie-in of the fact she lived in the house of the original museum guy. She then worked at the museum where he ran. She then wrote a document about the importance of a museum in education and used the same title as him. In the investigation, we heard the footsteps, which we believe was Henry. We heard a child's voice saying playtime, which we believe to be now his granddaughter. It was a female voice, and she truly believes even now it was her calling to actually move there and actually take over the museum, and she believes she was actually destined to do that, and it's all because of Henry.
Wow, that's fantastic story.
Incredible.
It is.
Absolutely amazing.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So really, that whole thing about are you destined, that's summed up in that entire story, isn't it, Lorraine?
Definitely. She could have taken any path that she wanted, but she went down that same path, that same route to where she's today, and she still lives in his house. He's still in the house because I visit her a lot, and you get a sense that somebody's there.
Wow.
You know, and she truly believes that she was destined to look after the museum at that point and destined to actually be in his property.
Yeah.
Oh, I think she absolutely was, wasn't she, by the sounds of it?
Yeah. Incidentally, Carl, on a side note, have you still got access to that EVP? Because that'd be fantastic for listening to.
I do have, yes. My old team member, who's actually the mother of my goddaughter, she actually has all the old footage. So she is actually trying to find it out for us as we speak.
Fantastic.
Right, that's fantastic. That would be incredible to hear that, wouldn't it?
It was.
Yeah.
Oh, bless you. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it sort of blows you away, really, when you think about it, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
I know
all these little things going into one.
From what I'm... Yeah. I know from certain members of the team, and I don't know if everybody's caught up with it, from other team members that did investigation this week on Facebook at the RAM. Now, I know when we went down there, John, when he was living, bless him, and he was the owner of it, he felt drawn to the place. He doesn't know why. He didn't know. He didn't know as if he'd been there before, in a previous life. But ever so when he actually visited the place, he just fell in love with it, and he couldn't move. He couldn't leave it, even when the rest of his family left. That's why he stayed on his own for years and years and years. He just fell in love with the building and with the actual in itself. He just felt so connected to it that he couldn't leave it. And bless him, if ever you'd met him, you'd know he was such a character. Really genuinely felt that he'd been there before. But then chatting to him, you didn't know, because some of the stuff he came out was just so random. You got to laugh at him sometimes, bless him. But he genuinely believed he was there before.
He probably
but
was,
I think that's
wasn't
a fantastic story. Yeah.
I mean, I really enjoyed.
If you look
what I liked about it was the fact that your friend there, Carl, had chosen the same title, the exact same title, to approach the council for funding like he did. I find that fascinating. So she must have been either divinely inspired, or maybe she was predestined, like you say, to do that role, almost as if someone has passed on the baton to her to carry on his good work.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that she's doing his job, but also living in the same house. I mean, what are the chances of that? It's just
brilliant, isn't it?
I don't think the human mind can comprehend it.
No, you couldn't make it up, could you?
No. No. Now, does she believe she's got some sort of psychic ability?
No, she actually believes she's psychic as a brick.
Right.
But it could
No,
quite
false
possibly be that she is psychic on some sort of subconscious level and not aware of it. That she, even though she's unaware of that ability, she's still living that path, regardless.
Yeah.
Because obviously, as Glenn said, it's almost like he's passed the baton on to her. So on some level, she's channeling in some manner, isn't she? For that exact same title.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
I think because what I was thinking of was, as they say in spiritualist churches, and everybody else probably, apart from Carl, probably know this, they say that thoughts are living things.
Oh yes, definitely.
Any spiritualist churches say that. Yeah. So
Absolutely.
Has the gentleman who owned it previously been putting subconsciously these thoughts into her mind? The wavelengths, and somehow that she's picked up on them all.
I believe so. And she's not aware of it, but
thought living thing. No.
Yeah.
No. I do.
Quite possible. I mean, the fact that everything's linked together and very much similar, the odds would be ridiculous on matching all that up randomly.
I don't think you could you? It's so random. It's it's amazing.
I mean, it's almost as if he's given. He liked her. Obviously, he liked her energy, and he's given her permission to live in his old house, to look after
carry on his
job.
work.
Yeah, I just find that incredible. It seems a little bit more than just thoughts, picking up on thoughts. Although I dare say that would have come into the equation, to make sure that she was on the right path in following his footsteps. But it feels like it's either a karmic thing or whether this was organised prior to being incarnated. It's just so amazing.
It is.
Crazy, isn't it?
It is. It's amazing. Absolutely.
I also find the story that you told, Glynn, there very interesting as well. The fact that I think you said his name was John. He felt very linked to that building. He couldn't put it into words why he felt linked, and he couldn't leave it. So in a way, he was in a similar position, like you say, almost as if that was his role within his life.
Yeah.
And I suppose if you break that down a little bit further, allowing lots of different paranormal teams into his home has given those paranormal teams that shift in consciousness. It's opened their eyes to the paranormal just through his kind-heartedness and being open and following his intuition, if you like, by opening his house out to the public. So I find that interesting as well.
Yeah.
But that almost could have been his purpose, couldn't it, really?
Yeah.
I mean, with both people, look at the thousands of people that they would have affected just by them being switched on and tapped in and tuned in.
Thousands and thousands, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's almost like giving the gift of a psychic connection and the paranormal to thousands of people without necessarily understanding why he was doing that, which comes back to the whole karmic path and destiny, whether it's subconscious or it's conscious. I mean, clearly in both instances, there must have been some connection there. With John and the ram, clearly had a connection to the place straight away. And he, even after his family left, he stayed because that connection was so strong, almost like a bond that couldn't be broken. And then in him staying there and letting teams in, as Glenn said, it's opening up the paranormal to so many people, and then changing their lives. So his karmic connection there to the ram could have purposely just been to open people's eyes to the paranormal. to let them experience it for themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, just on a sub thing to this, I've not even told Glynn this. I've got to tell him this afternoon when I'm speaking to him. It's something I find very interesting. I'd love to go back, but we can't because it's a restaurant. We did investigate a place, like a museum in Leicester, and we experienced some unbelievable, genuine poltergeist activity when we were down there and when we was upstairs. To the point where it makes you jump. It's incredible.
Oh, wow.
Now, the museum actually closed and due to funding, and it's actually been turned into a restaurant. And so obviously we can't actually go in and investigate it because they've got a lease on it, like a franchise restaurant. But I found out from somebody who lives in Leicester that things have been happening since lockdown in that restaurant, since it's been reopened. Apparently tablecloths and everything have been disappearing, and they've been like folded as if they've been neatly tidied up, like a helpful poltergeist, if you like.
Oh, tell them to come round my house.
The reason I mentioned
disfolding.
But also, things have been moved. But the point of this story is the guy who owned the actual museum. Well, I turned out the museum. It's called Wigston's House. He was a gentleman called Roger Wigston. He was a cotton trader, and he made all the cotton stuff and sold it actually in that building. He had people working for him in that building.
Wow!
So, and he did it all himself.
Wow!
It was just, and I forgot to mention that. It's just come to me since then. I'd love to go back in, but I doubt I will. Certainly for a few years. But apparently things have been going off.
Did you say it would? Did you say it had been closed down? Obviously, with the lockdown for quite some time, so it's been stood empty.
Yeah.
I dare say, on some level, with the lack of human interaction or activity there, it's allowed the building to settle, and obviously with a lot of fear-based energy going out into the ether with all this COVID business. It's unleashed something. Energy can move things. Just collective energy, conscious energy, without it even being paranormal. That can move things in itself. So it wouldn't surprise me with having that time of no interaction with humans or anything, that some of the layers of time have come down, and it's allowed these things to come to the surface. It's very interesting.
Yeah,
it is, isn't it?
I love the fact that
we've said this as well.
Yeah.
Go on, Glenn.
I was going to say, I love the fact that they fold doilies over.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Napkins.
Crikey. That is skill.
Yeah.
I can't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, a ghost can.
Yeah.
Talented one, clearly.
Yeah, can you imagine the poltergeist that does origami?
Yeah, swans. Beautiful swans.
Yeah.
Does your smalls. Can you do me smalls, please, poltergeist?
This is leading down a dangerous path, isn't it?
It is.
I'm not saying a word.
No. No, I mean, yeah. Has anybody else got any thoughts about what we've just been talking about? Graeme, have you got any thoughts on that, mate? Or you taking it all in? Or
I'm taking it all in. I mean, like on a subconscious level, where that person's lived there and then this other person's gone in and it's some kind of related. And it's like finding out why she's gone back there. It's like on a subconscious level saying, I must go there without really knowing what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, Could I just say something, Glynn?
Of course you can. Yeah.
I kind of think that a destined or a karmic path, whether it's in knowledge of that or whether it isn't, obviously it can still come into play anyway. So I think regardless of whether you realise you're on that path, you will find yourself in certain places at certain times connecting with certain energies, either from the present or from the past, obviously including buildings, because buildings hold an enormous amount of energy and what have you. So I think people are placed in their lives in certain places to actually fulfill a destined or karmic path, regardless of whether they're actually conscious of that or not. And then obviously free will comes into that, because then a person can choose to continue with that path that they've been placed on for whatever reason or not. But even a person that decides that they're not going to take that karmic path route and they decide free will, they don't want that, they can still find themselves further down the line exactly where they would have been anyway, because I think some aspects of our life are set in stone and other parts of our life are, free will can come into play. But I do believe that at some points of your life you're going to end up where you're going to be anyway, and you're going to come into contact with certain people in certain places, because people are placed in your path for either a reason, a season or a lifetime. So you could meet somebody that literally just teaches you a lesson, whether it's a good one or a bad one, that equally is valuable. A lesson of something that's, happened that you wouldn't necessarily think was a good thing can still teach you an awful lot.
Yeah.
So a person may pop into your life and do you wrong in some manner, but teaches you a lesson which evolves you then to take you onto your next path. Because everything that we encounter in our life does actually have a direct link to everything else that comes after that point, because it's the things that we go through in our life that actually passes along in our life to the person we are now. I'm certainly a different person now than in my 20s, because so much has happened to me in that time, and it's maybe the person I was probably always meant to be, but I wasn't aware of that at the time. So I do think there's in both the stories and in everything really, I think there's a certain parts of your life that you are meant to go down regardless, and there's some stories out there of people trying nearly sort of losing their life, but they don't, because they're not meant to. It's not their time to go. And then there's people that avoid certain situations because they think they're fearful of that situation, and then they avoid it. They don't go down that path that they'd usually go down, but they find themselves exactly where they were going to be, just further down the line, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. I think that's fascinating, though, isn't it?
It is. I'd really do.
Totally relate
talk
to
all
that,
day.
Chris.
I've got a couple of things. I've known Mandy for a long time, since I was 16, from holiday in Ponteland, and went out for a year, then lost touch until 2009 when she messaged us on Facebook, and that's where it all started from. And now you are together, married, and got Aiden. Now, like when she was previously married, they tried to have kids, it didn't work, and then something was meant to happen. I says no, she told to have, and then we got together, and we've got Aiden. So whether that's a destined path, just to get back together and have a child.
Could I just say something there, Graeme?
Yeah.
Also, with that, I think you can meet the right person at the wrong time, and then you can reconnect with that person at the right time, and it'll work out. So obviously, you knew Mandy all those years ago, and that possibly wasn't the right time for you both to be together. And then X amount of years down the line, you met her, and it was the right time, and now it absolutely works, and you're happier than you could have imagined.
Yeah.
So it's almost like someone could say you were destined to be with her and she was destined to be with you.
Yeah, it's like we're told.
But the bit in the middle was where the free will came into that, because for whatever reason you didn't work out, because free will interfered with what could possibly be in your destined path to be with her. But equally, the free will in both of you brought you back together at the right time.
Yeah,
it's
totally.
a lovely story.
Yeah, I mean, it's like when we were 16, we've like gone out, went out for a year, and then went out separate ways. And it's like, right, you're going 2 different paths. Do whatever you want for the next how many years,
because you had to
come together.
You had to have your individual paths as well.
Yeah.
To become the one big path later on.
Yeah.
Sometimes people are destined to have certain individual paths and lessons that they've got to learn on their own without the other person. Because without the like I was saying, without the individual things that happen to you that make you who you are today, you wouldn't be the person you are now. If those things hadn't happened in that gap where you weren't together, you wouldn't be the same man you are right now, and Amanda wouldn't be the same lady that she is now, because everything she's been through and the troubling times, especially the troubled times and the hard times, have made her a stronger person. So together you're a stronger unit, aren't you now, than you perhaps would have been back then.
Yeah. Definitely.
Great. Glenn, you were going to comment, weren't you, about about Chris's story? So you're related to him, mate.
Oh yeah, sorry. You brought something that I could share actually by listening to what Christina was saying. Basically, where I live at the moment, when I was looking for somewhere to rent and everything, there wasn't a lot available, and this place happened to come up. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll have a look, see what it's like. And at the time, I'd just gone through a divorce and everything. And so my parents were helping me out and everything and helping me to find a place. And I was given this address, and my mum came with me. She came to have a look round and everything. And she says, I don't believe this. I says, why? What's the matter? She says, well, when I was a kid, when I was younger, I used to come to this house because I was friends with the people that used to live here. And we used to play on the back garden. And the schoolmaster used to live next door. The headmistress used to live next door. And this gets even more stranger, because my landlord, their old headquarters was on the next street. And it was an old railway house, for the railway workers. That was their main office. Well, when we went to pay for the bond and everything, again, my mum came with me and we sorted it out, signed and sealed. And she says, you're never going to believe this. I say, why? What's up? She says, well, this very house that we're signing this room, your granddad, my dad, his... I think it's his granddad used to live here, and he used to play upstairs, and his brother and sisters used to play up there. And so there was that connection there. So a bit similar to Carl's story, the fact that all these things were linked for me to be here. And I've been here for a few years now. And it always, with you sharing your story there, Christina, you just reminded me of it. And I was like, oh, yeah, I forgot all about that. Because you kind of take it for granted. But obviously with tonight's subject matter, it's like, well, actually, there is something more to it than that, And it's just, I've just happened to have a house. So, yeah.
You were meant to have that house, weren't you?
And obviously with you talking about past relationships and things there, I was obviously married and got divorced and everything. But, I think that was the biggest lesson I've had in my entire life. And without that lesson, I mean, it wasn't nice. It was harsh, it never is nice.
It's never nice, is it?
But without that, I can say, hand on heart, I wouldn't be the person I am today. And,
absolutely.
So it worked out for the best in the long run, My children are happy.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, and so it's a win-win-win situation. Although at the time, it felt like hell on earth, as it does to everyone.
That's the thing about lessons, isn't it? That's the thing about lessons. Something happens and you think, how on earth can I get through this? Then afterwards you think, this had to happen. Same with my divorce. Absolutely the same. It wasn't nice, and sort of how I got my house. That's a bit of a weird story as well, because I didn't actually apply for this house at all. It was just offered to me. It was really weird. It was at the back end of my marriage. Obviously, I decided I was leaving the marital home. I wanted a fresh start, and I was applying for houses, but not in this area at all. Didn't even think about it. Then I got a letter saying that I'd been accepted for this house, and I thought, I don't actually want to live there, the area that I live in now. I thought, I don't want to live there at all, no. And then I spoke to this woman on the phone. She's just go and have a look, because it's a new house and they don't come up very often. It's brand new, it's not finished yet. And I thought, all right then. I had this I was straightening my hair at the time. I can remember I was straightening my hair, and I thought I had this nagging feeling I'd got to go and look at this house. So I said, I'm going to have a look. And it was really weird. I actually got my ex-husband to bring me. Actually, how bad's that? But it was it was amicable-ish at the end anyway. Even though it was horrible, it was still amicable. He knew I was going and what have you, and he had done for months and months before. And it was weird. It was a building site. There were numbers on the doors or anything. And my house is on the corner, and I've got a thing for trees. I love trees, and I've got 2 massive, really old trees in my front garden. I came around the corner. I literally turned around. He thought I was absolutely mad because it wasn't spiritual in any way, shape or form. And obviously I didn't know which house was mine, because I knew what number they were giving me, but there was no numbers on the doors. And I turned around to him and I went, that's my house there. And he looked at me like, you're a bit mad. And I went, you can't see it, but my name's above that door. And he looked at me a little bit mad. And he said to me at the time, it sounds horrible, but he says, will my name be ever at that door? Because I think he had hopes that I'd decide, And I said to him, as horrible as it sounds, I went, no, your name will never be above that door, only mine. And it was weird, because literally I got the letter saying, can you come and you can look at your house properly now. And the house with the trees that I said was mine is actually mine. And it's the only house with a front garden, because everyone else has got a bigger back garden, no front at all. And it's the only house with, old trees. I've got a tree in the back garden, they've planted trees, but not these big, massive grand ones I've got. And it's exactly the house that I always wanted. But I didn't actually apply for it. It was literally given to me. It's like they were saying, I know what you want. And although I didn't like this area at all, because I didn't know it, now I've been here 9 years now, and I think, you know what, I'm central for absolutely everything. I can get absolutely everywhere. And I'm on trams, and I'm on tram routes, bus routes, I'm on train routes a lot. I can get to more or less everywhere from here, and I'm a 5-10 minute walk from all the shops. And I think I can't imagine not being here. But at the time I thought, well, why don't I want to live there? Why are you giving me a house I've not even applied for? Because I hadn't, and someone had done that for me at the council completely without me knowing about it. But as soon as I walked in the house, the energy of this house, even though it's brand new, it was just rough land. It was like where there was no houses on this particular bit before. It was just like rough land, and it was recreational ground, and there was just a lot of nature. But the energy of this house has always been very, very calm and very, very serene. And it always has been. And literally all my daughter's friends that have needed any help or anything, and a lot of them have psychically come on since being here as well. I've all in tune to spirit while they've been here. It's almost like it's like a beacon for anyone that needs somewhere to go to come to. And it's always been the same. It's always had this lovely energy. But just go show I didn't choose it. It was my path. But and at the time I was facing, well, I'm not staying where I was. I wasn't going to stay in the marital home anymore. I didn't know where I was going, but I thought, you know what, I'll just go with it. And it worked. But everything happens for a reason, doesn't it? Literally. I say this to my kids all the time, and they roll their eyes at me, especially my oldest. Something will happen and I'll say, everything happens for a reason. You might not see it now, you might not know why, but later on you'll go, that's why. And it's true, isn't it?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
And sometimes the hardest lessons are the ones that teach us the most, and the ones that evolve our spirit and our soul to where we need to be. Because everything humbles us in different manners, doesn't it? And the hardest something you have to go through is, whether it be health or whatever, the harder the lesson, the more humble you become and the more evolved you become. And you become the person that you've always meant to be. So I think, although people say that people with a blessed life that have never had any problems at all, they're the lucky ones, they're not. The rest of us are the ones that have gone through the troubled times and the hard times. We're the lucky ones, because that's what brings us to where we need to be. It pushes us in the right direction. And spirituality and sort of the paranormal, generally, there's always a link that brings you to that. And it's generally from some loss or from some form of, trauma that opens you up to that. So unless things have happened to you.
In many respects as well. I was going to say, in many respects, from those harsh lessons, the lessons that we have learned, we're paying it forward to help others.
That's right, absolutely.
Without going through that, then you wouldn't have the empathy for others that are going through it.
Exactly.
And, they wouldn't receive the healing that they need. So it's all interlinked,
exactly.
I think.
It is all interlinked. And it's that help that we can give, or that comfort that we can give to somebody else. And it's a knock-on effect. It's like dominoes, isn't it? It's like really nice, kind dominoes. You do a kind act, or you help somebody, or you give them a kind word, or you comfort them, and then they heal, and then they can go on to heal somebody else. So it's sort of like a big knock-on of wonderful karmic dominoes, if you like, really, isn't it? Because we're all interconnected in some manner, aren't we?
What happens when you can't go? Do you have to knock? I can't go.
I'm knocking.
Maybe that's why
we're knocking.
Maybe that's why we hear taps in haunted houses, because they can't.
What I was just thinking, that maybe it is just that. That's probably where it comes from.
Playing dominoes.
Yeah. Karmic dominoes. That's what it
is. In actual fact, if you don't point, go on, Graeme, what you say, mate?
What I was going to say was, like, I mean, how long have I known you now, Glynn?
I've been in the band probably about 6 years. Right. And
it was like last year, you obviously, when you found out you were spiritualist and you had the gift, and then you were telling me, was it Tata Shoulder the Dam Busters?
Yes, yeah.
And then you were saying that I had the gift, and that was like kind of it until a couple of months ago. And then it's like, you messaged me saying, I want to invite you into this meeting, right, into this show.
Yeah.
And I thought it was only going to be for the one night. And then week on week, it's like, now I've met Christina, Glynn, and Carl. And it's brilliant. I love doing it every Thursday. I believe it's helped me come on that little bit further.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's brought us it's brought me to the group and together, like you say, a Destined Pathway.
Exactly.
It is strange how it's come together.
So I've come together like the show is Destined Pathways. That's how I've come to be in the show, and every Thursday I look forward to because I love it.
Great.
Yeah.
I'll just share a couple of things with you, if you don't mind, because as you've been talking, things have just dropped into my mind here.
Yeah.
As regards something to do with Christina, you mentioned about sometimes you have to go through bad times and what have you to get to where you're truly meant to be. Now, everybody who knows me, particularly Glenn anyway, knows that I worked 25 years in the funeral trade. So in one way, I was helping people out, and then gradually, I don't know what it was, Well, I do. I'm not going to say on the internet, but certain things happened, and it transpired that I was off ill for months and months and months, off with stress. I felt absolutely sick, physically sick, with the thought of going back to work, because I went through and what other people put me through, and I couldn't see it. It just absolutely crucified me at times. Constantly, while I was off sick, I decided I want to do what I'd wanted to do all the time, which was driving. So, as it turns out, certainly 14, 15 people have transformed their lives for the better by teaching them and getting through the driving test. So, they will always remember me. And I get such a tremendous feeling when people pass, because I think I've taken you and I've taught you how to drive. And I think it's a fantastic feeling, as Glenn said, paying it forward, because I've given them a life skill, and I've given them the freedom.
My test, Glynn. I've failed 3 times. I can't drive. I've just failed 3 times. Get me past it, please.
Right.
Give me that life skill.
If it's nothing,
you've got another client.
If it's Nottingham,
yeah.
If it's Nottingham, it depends on whereabouts in Nottingham. But I'll tell you what, if it's not that far, I would do if you wanted me to.
Oh, thank you.
So there you
I'd
go.
love to. It's changed my life, that's for sure. Never be in.
Yeah. Yeah. But the other thing that just brought me back here was the coincidence with a little bit of a question mark. Was these friends of ours I've made from Australia. Now, I will invite them on at some point. Obviously, depends with time difference. I think it'd be fantastic to actually have them on. Yeah. Yeah. Now, we got invited ages to go across to Australia by our family. And eventually we bit the bullet and we thought, let's do it. Yeah, I'm not saying nothing about the flight over there and the flight back either, because that's oh dear me. Yeah.
What is it? 24 hours? Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh. So you're inside a tube for 24 hours. So if you've got claustrophobia, you've shot it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but basically, we did sort of like. I digress now, because we did meet as friends, meet with family there, and they were good enough to put us up. So, me being me, I was researching on the internet about ghosts, and strangely enough, this came up not far from where we were staying in South Australia, a place called Tailem Town. It's like an old museum. I'll come in. Someone's pipping. But yeah, the street called Tailem Town, and they actually did ghost walks and stroke investigations. We went during the day, which it's so bizarre. You're in Australia with these old buildings, and you've got Vera Lynn playing.
Wow.
Wow,
yeah,
really?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it was. Wait, I mean, she might be there now herself. Who knows? But,
can't fault her, really.
Exactly. Yeah. She was chilling out. But anyway, I digress. I did an investigation, book for an investigation to do that over not one night, and so I've got borrowed the car of this other guy. He's a Nottingham Forest fan. So less said about last night, the better, I think. But we did meet up. I parked up. Only investigation ever I've ever done where I've had to spray myself with midge repellent. I don't do that in England, I can assure you. So what actually happened was just like meeting the people that had gone for a tour around and doing an investigation was, I spoke to them, and it was these people, the first ever investigation they decided to go on. They thought they'll give it a try, just see how it goes. And they said, "Are you from Nottingham?" I said, "Well, actually not. I'm near Nottingham. Why?" They said, "We're from a place called Mansfield." Well,
oh my God!
All that way.
It gets better. It gets better. I said, "Yeah, we live in Mansfield, and I'm not saying exactly where. I'm not naming the number. We used to live on a place called Pembleton Drive. You'll probably know it, Glenn, don't you?"
No, I'm terrible with names.
It's just not, all right. It's just off Westfield Lane.
Oh, I know where that is. Yeah, I know that.
Yeah. It's a place called Pembleton Drive.
Get this for a coincidence, Glynn. Get this for a coincidence. I did my first ever gig there.
Oh,
did you?
On Westfield.
Wow.
Westfield Folk House. Yeah, on that lane.
Oh my God!
It ties in.
Yeah. Bless you. But yeah, it's their first ever investigation. They're from Mansfield. There's a place called Pembleton Drive, and that's the same house my mum lived at.
What?
Oh my God!
Yes. They actually
Blimey!
when she was a little girl, my mum lived at that house, and then obviously a couple of people, and then they actually lived in it before they decided to move to Australia.
Wow.
Oh wow.
That's amazing.
So the following day, I'd got them to requested on Facebook straight away, and they've been across a few times. And her mum still lives here in Berry Hill area.
Oh.
So every year they try and get across. So I just thought, as you say, what are the chances of going to the other side of the world and bumping into somebody that lives in the same house, literally interested in the same things?
You see, I don't think it's all coincidences.
No,
skeptic might say it's coincidence. There's too many. There's too many coincidences, and they do say there are no coincidences. Everything.
Yeah, for years we've turned down going to Australia, and we just thought, "Oh, we'll do it this time."
When you did.
Yeah. Actually, it lived in the same house as my mum, and now the house that we live in now, my mum used to go past it running and playing in the fields when she was a little girl, and cycling past it with my granddad.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That is amazing.
That's quality.
And then, she spent years of all of childhood, going around this area, and then her and my dad got into a bidding war with a builder for our house, and they got it now. They got it for what's a ridiculous price. It is now in nowadays terms, but for then it was a lot for them. So I think for the two cottages, I think they paid £1,000, which back then was a lot.
A lot of money, wasn't it?
That was making money back then, wasn't it?
Like £1.50 or something a week wages or something, wasn't it back then?
Yeah,
probably.
it was a lot of money they pay. I mean, it's now when you look at what it's worth, it's just ridiculous.
It's laughable, isn't it? But
it is. Yeah,
unobtainable for most nowadays, isn't it? I mean, it doesn't tally.
No.
I mean, you hear house prices going down for like a couple of grand, and like now it's worth 20 times as much, and it's
yeah. So I just thought you just sort of like jogged me in mind about the one in Australia. You just thought the chances of that is incredible.
That is fantastic. I love the fact that your mum lived in the house as well, and she lived in the house. And then obviously the connection with the paranormal. And I think if I remember right, they came on a couple of investigations, one in Nottingham and one in Plesley with us, didn't they?
Oh,
really nice,
did,
really nice people, down to earth.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, she's never lost her English accent either, has she?
No.
Good for her.
Yeah.
Instead of good day, mate, it's good day, duck.
Good day. You're right.
I did say that to her. I did say that, when we went shopping in the supermarket there, and they looked at me completely gone out. I just said, can I have a pint of handle? And like, what? What is a duck? Yeah. But yeah, I think that's brilliant.
Oh, that's an amazing story. That is amazing on so many different levels as well.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's a lot of viewers watching that can also this tonight's topic will jog their memory, and they'll be able to relate to it.
Yeah.
And if
please let us know.
Yeah, if they're feeling brave enough, by all means, let us know or share it on the comments.
Yeah, that'd be wonderful, wouldn't it?
Yeah, great. We'd love to hear it.
We would.
So, and I think just rounding this up, I know you said about Graeme. You mentioned about meeting Glynn a few years ago.
Yeah.
That's few months, and how that's transpired. Now, a few years ago, I met somebody else once at a Spiritist church, and they invited me down just to have a drink with one of their friends, who ended up being a guy I'm going to see tonight, Matt, who's running a team at the present called Derbyshire Ghost Society. They don't no longer formed, so I sort of like started running investigations with them, and then built it up to a point there where we actually had a bit of a fallout with certain people, and Glynn came into Glynn one night in a pub, didn't I, mate? Staggering Pheasant.
Yes, you did. Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Yes.
Mansfield.
Yeah, and invited you out. I mean, I think we were both sober-ish.
I think I was dancing to Tiffany. I think we're alone now. It would have been something like that.
You weren't sober, you were drunk.
Oh yeah.
Completely. Oh, I bet it was. Singing Tiffany, I'm sure it was.
It's one of my favourite songs. I can't deny it. It's a guilty pleasure of mine.
Sing it
now
later,
everybody's going to be singing that in the red now.
I am. I'm absolutely singing it in my head.
As soon as I hear that first bar, and the shackles come up at the back of my neck, and I'm like, whoa. It's game on.
I nearly sang it then. I won't sing it. Don't think the viewers need my singing on here, do they? This close.
No. And then, but no, I say Glynn came on a few, and then we eventually sort of like went separate ways, and people sort of like suggesting to me, you do everything, you organise everything, why don't you do your own group? And I sort of gave it a little bit of thought, and about 10 years ago I met a guy who is just to my right hand side looking down on the computer by a complete mistake, by asking what it was actually. I just answered a little thing on internet, and I got in touch with a guy called Steve. I went there, we did a little bit of filming at Bolton, and bumped into Mr. Gregory. And there he is to my right, hello there. And ever since then, we sort of like kept in touch on Facebook, didn't we, mate? And then eventually sort of like invited him into the group on this Kindred Spirits. So eventually now, listening to that, we set up the Facebook page, and everybody has now joined, interlinked. We have all joined. Our pathways have been destined to meet at this point in time and be in the same group, and we've all got the same intentions.
Yeah.
And I think we've sort of like rounded it all off, isn't it?
Well, and if I remember rightly, Glynn, you actually knew my aunt when you was younger, didn't you?
Yes, I was a page boy at her wedding.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
Wow.
That's crackers.
Yeah. Because my mum worked with her.
No
That's
way.
Yeah,
crazy.
that's it.
That's
Yeah.
brilliant.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd not seen Carl until then, and you just said we just don't want to talk about it, didn't it?
Yeah.
And you were like, I don't know how Yancy came about, but we just spoke about it. So yeah, it just happened
Crazy.
that
It's the
Yeah,
right place at the
and
right
so-
time, isn't it?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think
Which again links to Destined Pathways.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah,
Well, I think that's
Yeah, me and
why the name of the group, Kindred Spirits, it's more than just the name, isn't it? You know, it means so
It
much.
is, absolutely.
It's true, obviously.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. We're here, and I think certainly when we do get together to do an investigation, I think it's going to be an absolutely great thing because we've got a good balance of people and a good group of people here. We're doing it for the right reasons as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I know we're going to sort of like wrap things up in a minute. We're going to do a little bit of a, hopefully, so some people will have commented, but do a little bit of a plug. Fingers crossed after the show next week, we may be trying to do a bit of a live StreamYard from an investigation next week. It will be unnamed because they don't want publicity, but we can go in areas where it's not recognisable and do like visuals. So hopefully, fingers crossed, next week could have a double one, could have us talking, but also we could be doing a live interactive investigation. So fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So me and Glenn will be there, but the three amigos that's all watching us now, you could be sending us here, there, and everywhere, asking us to do different things.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Just like,
Oh.
yeah.
And I'm not
Now we're worried.
I'm not going to the off license because I'm not wearing a mask.
Oh, all right then. No. I won't send you there then.
Right.
We've all got to wear them tomorrow.
I know.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I've had this
Oh.
quite some time, this man.
I know. It's lasted you a long time, hasn't it, from Halloween, mate?
Oh.
It keeps the Jehovah's Witnesses from coming on my door.
That was easy for you to say.
It was.
Unlike the viewers I was mentioning off air, that apparently I've won a Nigerian lottery as well. So what a night for me tonight. Talk about Destined Pathways, and I never even entered it, but I've won millions of pounds.
See, it was
I've
Destiny.
just got to give me bank details, and also, yeah.
Oh dear.
Yeah, I'm destined. It's not like asking bank details. Not a problem. So, yeah, do you think I'm destined to actually give me bank details? We'll see. Yeah. So, Glenn, on that note, have we had any comments, mate?
Yes, we have. We've had a.
Have we?
Let's put them up. We've had a
Hello,
good evening,
Megan.
everyone. Hi, Megan.
Hiya, Megan.
Hey,
Hey,
Megan.
Megan.
Hiya.
Yeah. See you Saturday. Potentially.
Yeah. And we've got another one. Oh, it's from Gary, the singer in the band I play for. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with a bit of Tiffany now and again.
No.
Gary, the next time you do a gig, I want to hear that.
Yeah. Oh, and Megan's just commented again, bless her. Looking forward to it. Excellent. Oh, there's another one.
Yeah.
Okay. Right, so I think that's excellent. So all's good.
Yeah.
We were thinking, weren't we, Glynn, of if we get time on Saturday, doing a little Facebook Live, a little investigation at a disused church, not too far from Megan's, but obviously, you know, things permitting, weather permitting, people permitting, and all that.
Yeah, we may do.
Oh, we've had a comment from Gary. Yes, we need to do it. That's on the set list. Tiffany, I think we're alone now. That'd go down a storm acoustically. You know it. You know it makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
You could just imagine everyone going, children, behave.
Glynn, you know you're going to get people going on YouTube now, don't you? Just to put this on.
Running just as fast as we can.
Oh, she's got it.
Oh, my word.
You've got to do the actions as well.
Shining now into the night. I think we're ready now.
You know we're destined to get possessed here, don't we? And get taken off now.
Sorry, it's my fault singing.
The thing is, the ironic thing is, we're never alone. There's always spirit around us.
Ah, that is true.
Yeah.
That is true.
Yeah, so pay attention, Gary.
That'll be a first.
Yeah.
What?
I've just seen that. Top notch. Top notch.
What you like?
So, anyway, on that note, I think we better call it a night and say thanks everybody for tuning in. And what we're talking about next week, we don't know, but something will come up. But it's been great to catch up with everybody, and I think tonight it's been great. Everybody just chipping in, and it just proves that it's rounded it off. We all are on a destined pathway to be exactly where we mean to be at the right time. Exactly. So thanks everybody for joining in, and thanks everybody for watching. And take care. Bye-bye.
Bye everyone.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.